Hi, I'm Bryan Falchuk, President and CEO of PLRB, and this is the future of insurance. Hey, everybody, I'm not sitting on one side or the other. I'm doing both duties today, and this really is just a way to close up season 3, to share some big news with all of you. Many of you may have seen, if you follow me, you certainly would have on LinkedIn, that I made a big announcement recently that I will be taking over as the president and CEO of an industry organization called PLRB, which stands for Property and Liability Resource Bureau. For those of you in the claims world, you may well have known of PLRB. You may be a member yourself. You may have benefited from the services of PLRB and the support of the organization. But I know a lot of people in the industry don't know about it. So the purpose of this episode is to talk a little bit about PLRB and what we do. So you all know what I'm going off to do, but also to let you know, well, what's going to happen with the future of insurance and insurance evolution partners, and is this the end of everything? And, where am I going to turn for hearing from great leaders from across the industry and thoughts about where things are going? Quick answer on that, TLDR. Not that you're reading this, you're just listening, right? But no, it's not going away. You will still be able to get all that stuff, but more on that in a minute. Let me share a little bit about what PLRB is and kind of why I was excited to step up and take the role of CEO, president and CEO, which will be effective January 1st, 2023, although I'm already working there and going through the transition with their current CEO, who's retiring after a fantastic and dedicated career with the organization. He's been there 44 years. He's been the president and CEO for 19, and he was president for a few years before that as well. Let me tell you about PLRB. So PLRB, for those who don't know, is a claims-focused organization, although there's certainly value to be had outside of claims as well. And what they really try to do is hone in on coverage and the complexities of coverage, particularly within property matters, within liability matters, regardless of the source policy where the liability was written. So it could be an auto policy, a GL policy, et cetera. And there's a number of ways that they support the industry on those fronts. So one is where many people would know PLRB is they host a number of large events and regional events as well throughout the country. They're US focused, or I should say we are US focused, but it's a place for especially claims adjusters and different service providers and vendors in the industry to come together and talk about what's going on in their space. What are the key issues we're facing, the complexities, the changes in law, the kinds of cases that people are seeing in court, or the challenges to them, what sort of precedent is out there, and how does that help us navigate it? And they provide a lot of educational resources. So continuing education or continuing legal education, the CE and CLE side, and just general education. So webinars and other ways for people to learn about the complexities that, I know for any claims adjusters listening, you face this stuff every day. And the question is, how do we navigate that? And I said, could be valuable beyond claims. You think about an underwriter who is trying to understand the complexities and nuances of coverage, or maybe it's a wordings person, someone who's doing drafting or product management, creating and managing and updating a product. Of course, coverage is front and center in that. So PLRB does a lot of work with lots of different folks throughout the industry to spread more understanding and education around coverage and coverage matters in property and liability worlds within P&C. So that's one thing that we do, those events and all of the education around it, which doesn't just happen at those events. Those are also done through distance learning, webinars, different hosted events and online modules. As a member, you can go in and you can take a ton of different courses and classes and entire work streams or learning paths where you can get up to speed and get more in depth on a number of these fronts. And you can do that all, at the leisure of your schedule, and wherever you are based, you can get all that through the web. So that's the educational and event side. We also do coverage analysis and coverage advice. And this is really interesting that as someone who ran a claims team that was very frequently turning to outside coverage counsel for guidance, for analysis, because we didn't have the resources in-house, we're very busy handling the claims that we had. I really didn't know about this part of PLRB, and frankly, I'm blown away by it. I think this is where tremendous value gets created for the industry. If you are an adjuster or other claims professional and you're struggling with the coverage of a particular claim, given your wordings, given your policy form, given the facts presented in the claim, is it covered? Is it not covered? what sort of precedent is out there? What are the complexities and the nuances? And maybe it's something because you've got multiple policies on the line or multiple different kinds of sections to policies and endorsements and other things that could create or limit coverage. How do you navigate all that given the facts of the matter? You need a place to turn for that. And not all of us have the luxury of having those resources in-house. And on every claim, we don't necessarily have the budgetary luxury of turning to outside counsel. And so where do you go? Well, you can go to PLRB, and as a member, you can do this for free. You can send in your questions with the claims situation, asking for guidance, and the property or the liability attorneys in-house at PLRB will analyze it and give you an answer literally in as short as a day and as long as just a few days, up to 5, but really fast turnaround. And there's no fee for doing that. And that's the part that blew me away is someone who was watching, thousands of dollars of coverage spend that was very valuable, but was still expensive, to know that there's this resource that maybe there's another place we can turn. And on a really large, complex claim, of course, going to outside counsel makes a ton of sense. The dollars are, it's short money compared to the dollars at stake. But what if you have a $5,000 or $10,000 matter, or $20,000 or $30,000, a $2,500 or $3,000 coverage opinion? You may not take that decision. You may not go to get that help, but you kind of need it. So what do you do then? And it was so nice to hear about having this opportunity of another place to turn. And sometimes you don't know if you need to go for an outside opinion. And before you just spend that money, maybe you want to check with someone and see, is this as straightforward as it seems? Is it as complicated as it seems? Should we get some advice first? And sometimes having that first read can give you a clearer sense of, we really do need to turn to outside help on this one. And so we should engage coverage counsel. But having that clarity and having that clarity for free is really valuable. So again, that's a major thing that PLRB provides. And the good thing is for all of those questions, they actually get put into a database. And so you can search through and see, did someone else face something like this in this jurisdiction or this context or this product line, this kind of issue? What was the answer then? So you can ask your own questions, but you can also search through this vast database, literally years and years and years, decades of responses that the PLRB has been giving people in these claims questions. So you have a great resource to turn to. And then there's even more that we provide, but that's where I want to think about for the future. And part of the reason I want to talk about this is to hear from all of you is, come to me, share your ideas. What are ways that you think we could be valuable and helpful to you? PLRB is a member-driven organization. Carriers, P&C carriers are members of PLRB and get access to the CE, the distance learning, the events, the coverage database, and also the ability to ask those coverage questions, all for free. It's all included in your membership. So the question is, what are other ways we can provide value to you? Or maybe you've been a PLRB member and you've really enjoyed it and you've seen a lot of value. I've talked to a number of people who said, they wouldn't be where they are if not for the support they got from PLRB. I want to hear about that. So I'm sort of cheating and using my podcast as a way to get that word out. If you have experience with PLRB and you want to share some thoughts, or you have ideas for more ways we can support you, reach out to me. I'm obviously very easy to find. You can certainly hit me up on LinkedIn. But that's one side of what I wanted to talk about. The other is all this stuff, the podcast, the books, speaking, all that kind of stuff, things that I've been incredibly engrossed in and dedicated to for the past few years as I try to help the industry move forward. And if you think about it, this really overlaps with my work at PLRB beautifully, because this is an organization that's dedicated to that core mission of the industry. We are here to protect people from the greatest risks they could face, people or businesses. And if those risks materialize, we're here to put things back together again. We stand by that promise. And the work that PLRB is doing is to help carriers, insurers deliver on that promise. That's what drives me every day. That's what all of this, future of insurance and my work at Insurance Evolution Partners, what it's all about is helping to forward that mission and keep it evolving, keep it up to date and getting ahead of how risk is changing, how our customers are changing, how the economy is changing, all of it. And I really couldn't stop doing that and stay true to why I was so interested in joining the PLRB. And so for that reason, I am going to continue to do this podcast. Normally I take a break between seasons. I will still be doing that. So this is the last episode in season 3. I'll be back with season 4 in 2023. So you'll see more episodes, more carrier executives. So that's one thing. The book series, Future of Insurance, 2 books are out. The first one is on the legacy carriers. Second one is on startup carriers, all doing innovative things to drive the industry forward. There's a third book that's already in the works. It's all about collaboration within the industry between InsurTech solution providers and insurers. How do we come together as effectively as possible to implement new solutions, put in new products, go to market with a different way of working or a new approach or a new tool to help us all innovate, evolve, and move this industry forward and serve our customers better on that mission of standing by people. So you can watch for that in 2023. I'm aiming for the middle of the year, sometime in the summer. More details to follow. I've just started work on it now. I only have the first case drafted, and I'm doing the interviews and some of the others, so it's still really early. And there's actually a 4th book that's already in the works, and I struggled to say which one's 3rd and which one's 4th because the 4th one's actually pretty far along, but I think it's going to come out later than the collaboration book. And that is very similar to the first 2 with case studies of particular players and what they're doing and how they've evolved. Sort of similar, I think, to the second book in particular, where it's sort of the life journey, like why did they get founded and what are they trying to do of some InsurTech startups, but particularly InsurTech startups in Asia. And if you know anything about me, you know that I'm largely North American or even just US based. I have done some work in Asia going way back in my career, actually speak Mandarin as well, but I am not an expert on the Asian market. And so for that reason, I partnered with Teresa Blissing from the Asia InsurTech podcast, and she is taking the lead on writing the 4th book in the series, which is all about distribution tech plays within InsurTechs in the Asian market. Really fascinating stories. I've been reading what she's been putting together and editing the book for her. And it's really cool stuff. And it's fascinating for me when you start to look in such different contexts, different markets to see what's going on and think about, well, are there dynamics there that we might see coming into our situation in the US market, the European market, the African market, what have you, Australia? All of these markets are different for different reasons with different dynamics. And as we read the stories and hear about what's going on elsewhere, we learn and we might see a path to changing. So stay tuned for more on that. But needless to say, these things will go on. It's really important to keep contributing to how the industry looks, how it's going to look, and what we can do to bridge the gap between those 2 things. So we stay relevant. Of course, that's super important, but also so we keep delivering on our mission and standing by our customers. That's critical. So I'm very excited to be taking the reins at the PLRB and working with the team there to keep serving this industry in such a critical and valuable way, and to find even more ways to create value, to support our members and the industry more broadly. And I hope to get to engage with so many of you in that capacity going forward. And I will still be doing all of this. You will still see me here. I will still be engaging with you, bringing you leaders from across the industry, sharing what they're doing in their context to break through, to do something new, to push the industry forward, and what thoughts they have about where this is all going. So with that, I will leave you there. I will just say, all of this stuff that I've been putting out, it's still going on and it's all there for you to have. So much of it that I do is free. So you can just go to future-of-insurance.com and download it. You can get the podcast. You can access the books, which, yes, you do have to buy the books, but there are free ways to get the books. If you have a Kindle Unlimited, for example, or an Audible subscription, you can get the books in those 2 formats, but also do paperback and hardcover. So you can access the books there. You can get to the podcast. You can share all this stuff. And I've also done a number of longer form thought leadership pieces that you can access there, all free as well, on the future of the auto industry, the auto insurance market, future of ESG in insurance. Talked about how casualty claims, which are really complicated space, how they're starting to benefit from the physical property side of the same claim. So if you have an accident, the car, person gets hurt, you have both a liability or casualty matter, and you have the physical damage matter. And those were always sort of 2 separate things with different tools, different approaches, usually different adjusters. Now some of the data and the insights and the tools can cross over. So what do we do with that? Anyway, those are out. You can get them now. Just go to future-of-insurance.com. All of it's linked up there. but you can also keep watching the space so you don't miss anything. And I would just ask everyone who's listening to this, whether you're on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever, subscribe to the show. Even better, take a few moments, give it a rating. That is so unbelievably helpful. If you're on a podcasting platform, share your thoughts on how valuable this is. I, of course, would only ask for, great positive reviews, but if you have some feedback, critical feedback, I'm open to it. So please do share that as well. All of it is welcome. But if you're enjoying the show, I really would appreciate you sharing some kind words about it. That helps get the word out. And the thing I always say, share it with someone you know and care about in this industry. If these thoughts are helping you, if they're giving you a sense of how to push, how to go forward, what might be changing in our industry, of course, someone in your circle, in your network that you care about, that you think is a part of where this is going and wants to do better and wants to stand by this industry could benefit as well. So share the show with people you know and care about in this industry and beyond. And I hope to see you back soon. We'll be back in 2023 with season 4. You can obviously catch me on LinkedIn, catch me here, watch for more from PLRB. And thank you all for listening. And I can't wait to join you for another season starting next year of the future of insurance. Thanks, everyone.